This is the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Cattles.
All right, let's talk secondary. Marcus Jones, red contact jersey, I think is gone, right? He's ready to go after double shoulder surgery. Working with the cornerbacks or safeties, Greg, because I remember going back, Greg Cosell, right after the draft, you had him on the podcast, and he said Honey Badger, right? And not that he's going to be the Honey Badger, but he reminds him of the Honey Badger. Where was Jones lined up today, and how did he look?
Surprisingly, he was at slot cornerback. He did not work with the safeties today. That might be a case where the Patriots, we all know they're pretty stacked at safety. And a guy like Jabril Peppers isn't even out there yet. And it could be a case of Jonathan Jones isn't quite ready. So, hey, let's get a look at Marcus Jones at cornerback. He is going to be a multifaceted tool for them. I think that's pretty obvious. And so why not give them early reps where they're a little bit short? He has a lot. He did not take part in the offseason, so he has a lot of catching up to do in terms of, what's going on defense and how he plays, and they need more data on him. And so I thought it was interesting that he was out there. I thought he did fairly well. The thing that stands out about him, Nick, is that he is small. He's not skinny. He's pretty thick, but man, he is small, and I don't know what his numbers were coming out of the combine, and maybe it was just this one rep, but they were doing sort of red zone, almost like, hey, the quarterback's going to throw it up in the corner. The cornerback's got to, get a jam and then play the ball. And I wasn't all that impressed with his vertical jump. It could have been a bad rep. I don't know, but I will say this. The dude is quick as hell. He is, what did Daniel Jeremiah, quicker than a hiccup. He has that going on for him. So that's good for the slot. But I do think long term, I think he is a Honey Badger sort of multifaceted tool in terms of, he can line up basically anywhere.
I believe Daniel Jeremiah stole that from the great Jim Ross from the WWF, WWE, by the way. All right, so the rest of this, I would know that. I am the wrestling nerd of these two people talking to you right now. All right, let's look at the cornerback group. The top three guys, Shaun Wade was in the slot. Marcus Jones played behind him. How about the 1 and the 2 on the outside, Greg?
So it was Jalen Mills and Terrence Mitchell, sort of a continuation of the offseason. I don't know if that's a, big surprise. But then you had, Malcolm Butler was in the second group with the rookies, Jack Jones, Marcus Jones. So, that was definitely an interesting pairing. Juwan Williams, former, second round pick.
Yep.
He was in Scrubville with guys I never really heard of. I will say, though, that Juwan Williams had an interception today, a nice interception today in practice. So, that was nice. But he was definitely, he was probably looking around and being like, bruh, these are the guys I'm playing with? Really? Really?
He's doing the John Travolta from Pulp Fiction, the gif that's always going around where he's just like in the room, he's looking around like, what? Who am I with here? Out of the guys, right? So I think we know what to expect from Jalen Mills, good and bad. Out of the other guys, Greg, Terrence Mitchell, Wade, Jack Jones, Malcolm Butler. I won't include Marcus because this was his first practice today. And I know it's very limited and it's early. But is anybody sticking out to you in any kind of way out of those, rest of the guys group at cornerback?
Well, I will say to this point, and I thought today with it being all red zone, it was tough to really tell much of anything. With the second, a lot of the red zone work in the secondary is passing off guys, and so it's hard to tell. There was no sort of 7-on-7 period where it's just like 1-on-1, just in the middle of the field. Or even one-on-one work, which you'll get a lot of cornerbacks versus wide receivers. Hey, wide receivers get to make a move and none of that stuff. So it was hard to tell who stood out. But to this point, if you include the offseason, I think you would say, Jack Jones is a guy who has stood out among the group. But you could tell the Patriots like Mitchell for whatever reason. The Texans didn't want him back. I think the Patriots think they found a diamond in the rough there, but we'll have to see.
Fascinating, too, because, of course, you have the other part of that story, right? Nick Caserio made the decision that it was not the guy in Houston and they didn't want him. if Belichick gets something out of Mitchell, it's kind of like a ha-ha, kind of snub the nose at Caserio. We got one over on you, Nick. You screwed that one up, my man. 3 competitive positions, okay? We've got cornerback, linebacker, and right tackle. Let's start with cornerback, Greg. Give me the lowdown on this position, contenders, favorites, dark horse. How you feeling?
Yeah, look, there's always competition in every camp, but to me, I boiled it down to I think these 3 spots, cornerback, linebacker, and right tackle, are sort of, to me, where the biggest competition lies. And I think you have to start at cornerback because I think it's almost like a complete unknown field other than Jalen Mills, who we think will have a starting spot, and Jonathan Jones, whenever he gets back, will be the slot. But as far as like starting battering corner, I mean, you have, it could be Malcolm Butler, could be Terrence Mitchell, it could be Jack Jones. Probably won't be Sean Wade. He's been slot, this offseason and now first day in camp. Juwan Williams seems like he's, he was in Scrubville today. Seems like he's going to be off the rosterville pretty soon. The favorites for me, and when I wrote this, it was, based off of off-season practices, Jalen Mills and Terrence Mitchell. My dark horse is Jack Jones. I don't think he's a huge dark horse. A lot of people have talked about him in the camp that he had the offseason. I'd say the heat is on Malcolm Butler, Juwan Williams, and Wade, even though Wade doesn't belong on that list because I think he was a draft pick last year. They traded for him from the Ravens. I think he's here and he looks pretty good. And in my mind, I think at the end of the day, I think the 2 starting boundary cornerbacks for the Patriots in week 1, provided no injuries, is Jalen Mills and Jack Jones. I think they're going to win the job at the end of the day. And after the first day, I don't feel any worse about that. I think Jack Jones, once they get into more real camp, I think he's going to show out.
Tell you what, if Jack Jones starts this season boundary corner across from Jalen Mills and holds his water there, Bill Belichick did a pretty good job to nab that guy where he nabbed him. If he's going to be, a starting outside corner day 1, season 1, you might feel a little bit better about that pick immediately.